I'm Dr. Ashley, and this is From Her Point of View.
Okay. So we had another episode planned for this week, but due to everything that's going on right now, I thought it was important that we check in and talk about the current events. Um, so we all know that there have been a lot of protests and things of that nature right now due to what has happened with police brutality and murder, against Black men. And so it's caused an uproar in the world that we've seen, just reverberate across the world. So, with that being said, I want to talk about how these events affect us personally, um, just how we're receiving it, how we're dealing with it, and how it's affecting our mental health, how we're practicing self care through that. So, what are your thoughts?
So, in regards to like how people are dealing with it, just the state of the world, I consider the world being on fire. Is that people aren't dealing with it very well. People think that they are, but they're really not. A lot of people have this, unbeknownst to themselves, this funk of a feeling or irritation, and they don't know where it comes from. They are going through life with their day to day activities and finding themselves really sad or really upset. And nothing's happened to trigger these feelings or emotions, but they're not okay. And I think that we're not talking about it constructively as far as what's really wrong and what's going on in our minds. So we are finding ourselves experiencing outbursts of some sort,
Okay, that
which
makes
can be scary.
yeah. I think that in some cases people don't know what to do with all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the constant flow of information from the media and within interactions with other people, it's just ongoing. So there's so much that you're taking in that it's heavy. Um, it can be hard to deal with because it's so heavy, and for us, it hits home. So it's hard to deal with it, and then you're bombarded with it. It just keeps coming at you.
It's constant.
And so how how do we take in the information, deal with the problems, but also take care of ourselves during that time?
I feel like we should take in the information just enough where we feel like we can bear. I mean, we know when we are close to our breaking point. And in previous episodes, I mentioned that I don't watch a lot of the news because I know that my day could be going great. And then one story could just throw me for a loop, or scrolling through Instagram and everything's fine. And then one story or one post could just take me out of my element. So just knowing how much of something we can take is beneficial.
And also deciding where we're taking those things from, because
Yeah.
every media source is not a reliable source. So you'll have one news network that will show the protests and the riots and only show us. Then you'll have another one that will only show, some masked people, but you'll see like some lighter skin coming through. They can all, aim the camera the way they want to portray the story the way that they want it to come across. And then
Yeah.
also on social media, you have the constant flow of thoughts, posts from people stating their position on it. And sometimes those positions are not supported. We know that social media is a platform where people can share whatever they want to share. So you have
Hmm.
to take what you read with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Or just turn it off if it gets too much. Like, I know it's hard for people to not be engaged or not be in tune to the lives of others, but ultimately you have to be able to turn it off.
Mhm. I think there's a level of guilt associated with that too. I feel like if you step away from it, you're in some way, I don't know how to put it. It's like you're not engaged with it. And I feel like this is such a sensitive subject that you feel like you need to be engaged in supporting your people. But then if you step away from it for a while,
You
you know
feel
what I'm
guilty
saying? You
because
feel
you
like
feel
you let them down, or
like you're
you know,
present.
right, you're not being present. So, you know,
But sometimes being present is not physically being there, not actually scrolling and searching and looking, but just maybe taking time out to step aside and just have a moment to yourself. Maybe pray a prayer of peace as opposed to being so involved. That I mean, you can be involved electronically, but it doesn't mean that you're actually changing or impacting anything. So the
that's
mere fact that you're not present for those moments doesn't change anything.
that's true. That's true. And so with that, let's think about the effect on your mental health and wellness. So, as you mentioned, you can listen to something and it can just change your whole day.
Mhm.
They could have been going fine, and then you hear about a murder on the news, and your mood just changes. I know for me personally, I'm a deep thinker. And so the more I take in, the more I ponder on it and try to find the subtle nuances of it and try to figure out why, and then think about how other people may be receiving it. And for me, it becomes hard for me to turn it off. So
Mhm.
I will find myself sometimes not being able to go to sleep because I can't turn my mind off,
Yeah, you're
or
drowning
I,
thoughts.
I just, or I will wake up and think about something and write it down on a piece of paper so that I don't forget, so I can think about, work on it tomorrow and then go back to sleep or try to go back to sleep. It just, the constant flow it just permeates my mind and I can't really think about anything else.
So
So,
does that affect you in a negative way? Because I know that sometimes if you allow yourself to be so involved in something, right? And like how you said you wake up in the middle of the night, you write it down so you don't forget about it. Which is actually a really good thing to do with anything that you're doing. Anything that is on your mind where you just want to release it, I encourage people to journal, to write it down, put it to the side, and let go of it, and then come back to it when you feel like you're ready. So that's really good that you do that. But writing it down and stepping aside from it should be a way for you to release it, to say, okay, let me get it out, and then let me have peace. I can go back to sleep.
right.
Does that
It
happen
doesn't
though?
always work out that way, but that
I
is
was gonna
the goal.
say.
That's why I do that. Um, and so I have to, whether I want to or not, step away.
Mm-hmm.
I I am very familiar with racism. That is the way life, you have those experiences. It just is what it is. That is the existence of Black people in America. You experience racism, whether it's overt, covert, whether they're microaggressions, where someone's saying, oh, you speak really well. Well,
For
I'm
a
an
black
adult.
girl.
I'm an adult. I should be able to articulate what I want to say. Or, you don't, I'm saying these things, but you don't really act like them. Well, I
Them
am
is
them.
them.
I mean, what do you mean?
But it's
And the,
it's
the
just pure ignorance
yeah, the
that you
statement is
really
not
believe.
meant. It's not meant to be offensive. It's
No.
actually meant to be praised. That that you don't associate me with them.
But
So
that's why I say it's ignorance, because the Bible says, forgive them for they know not what they do. These people, and not everybody, but a majority of them are innocent in what they're doing and their approach to the situation, and all that has to do with racism, right? But they don't know how to respond.
mhm,
So they think that they're responding in a way that's politically correct.
mhm.
And it's not always like that.
one of the positive things, however, to come out of all of this is the heightened awareness of what's going on and everybody being able to have these many opportunities to understand, do research, understand. There's so many different platforms where people can listen and learn about the experiences, how to respond, how to be a support. And a lot of people are taking advantage of that. I
Mm-hmm.
We see at the protests and everywhere else, people are shoulder to shoulder, and it is everyone. Everyone is outraged. Every group of people is outraged by what's going on. And one of the good things to come out of it is the unity that people are trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Trying to be allies, trying to support, and when they don't know what to do, they ask,
Yeah.
and that demonstrates that their willingness to want to support and help and recognize that what has gone on for so long is just wrong. It's just wrong.
It
You know,
is wrong.
there's no other way to put it. And you can stick your head in the sand and act like nothing's going on because it doesn't affect you personally, but because it may affect someone you love, it will affect you indirectly. And people just, they seem to be more willing to do the work.
So my fear in that, because I thought about that today, and it's like every site you go on the internet, like everything is broadcasting Black Lives Matter, we stand with you, right? And that's great. But it's like it took constant pain and neglect and abuse and all that we have to endure as Black people. And then finally, because don't get me wrong, there have been recordings in the past, but something about this particular incident changed everything for people, the way that they view the situation, right? And it's like it took all of that for you to recognize that, wow, these, Black lives do matter. All lives matter, but we are the oppressed people, and we have been oppressed for so long that it's kind of just like, oh, well, they'll be all right, or this is the norm, right? When really it's not normal. So to have all these people back us up and support us and be there and do all these things is amazing, right? My biggest fear is that it's going to be it's trending per se, right? Black lives matter because it's everywhere. Everybody wants to be on the bandwagon of we support Black people until something else happens, and then you're moving on to the next thing. So we matter now, but my fear is how long will we matter before we go right back to the way that the world actually operates in dealing with Black people.
Mm-hmm. How cynical that has been our experience. You know, there's a march, there's the movement, you take two steps forward, you take a step back. It's just,
There's no consistency.
there's no consistency. And like you said, it's trendy.
Mm-hmm.
Sad to say, but
Like,
it is.
how dare you not be on the bus of Black Lives Matter? And like, are you not protesting? Are you not partaking? Are you not supporting and calling on your Black friends and telling them how much you care about them? Like, are you not doing that? Oh, how dare you, right? But like you said, people don't know how to respond. So you have those who respond overly respond, and then you have those who say nothing, right? Because they really don't know what to say.
Right.
And they may see it as a trend as well. Like, yeah, well, why is it that after all this time, Black lives it's finally mattering, right? But for how long? Before we go back to the nonsense that we continue to live under.
And then you have the ones like you mentioned that are silent. And a lot of that, I believe, is some of it is out of fear. Some of it is out of not really connecting with what's going on. So you don't, especially the the concept of privilege. A lot of people are offended by the term white privilege. And the easier way to deal with it is to not address it. And to say that white privilege exists is in no way an attack on white people themselves, or a white person, a white individual, because that is something that is just their birthright, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that was bestowed upon them, or that they went out and killed someone for, or no, they, the people of today were not the slave owners. So, why are we paying for this? Or why are you saying this or that? Like I said, it's not something that was bestowed upon you. It just is. It just
It
is.
is. It is, whether you want it to be or not, whether you want to believe that it's fact or not. That is what it is, and that is what it's always been. White people have always had the better opportunity. They have always had the better chance. Whether or not they ran with that, who knows, right? Not all white people are doing great things, but the opportunity is there for you to do more than it is for a Black person. And it's always been that.
I mean, it's the foundation of the country.
Yeah.
We came over here as chattel, basically, property. So as the country was built, yes, progressively things have changed. Progressively, we've gotten more rights. Progressively, we've been seen as humans rather than property. But it's the foundation of the country. So it's not something that we are, when we say white privilege, it's not something that we are accusing them of having. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that we are saying that they even weaponize against us. It just is. It just is. And when you have a disadvantaged group of people that, and with the constant stream from the media showing us what's happening to these people, that's where the outrage just continues to build and build. And then we've seen that manifest.
Okay, so let's take a step back, and it made me think about it when I mentioned the topic of trending. So when Trump was in office, remember what he did to all of the Mexican and Spanish people, Latinos of all sorts, right? They were caged. They were treated like animals. They were treated as if they were so insignificant, right? Because they wanted to be in the United States, and coming across the border was not an option. If you were considered illegal per se, you had to go back to where you came from, or where they thought you came from. So it's the same thing. Like, all of that was just a big deal, right? And everybody was so upset about it, and it was just a thing that we just had to stop. And then it was like it fell by the wayside. And now we're here saying again, Black Lives Matter. Like, we kind of toggle back and forth through the groups of minority people who are just not treated fairly. So it's like we matter today, but tomorrow it'll be something else.
What do you think is the answer? What's the response? Do you think that things will ever be equal in this country?
I don't feel like it'll be in our generation. I don't think that it'll be in our lifetime. I think the ultimate change that needs to happen, that should happen, we will be dead and gone. We will not be able to see that. Maybe our kids may be able to see it, or not, or their kids. But I feel like it is possible, and eventually, yes, we may get there. But yeah, I don't see this happening anytime soon. I see things changing, but not completely.
And so that all starts at home.
Yeah.
Since we, as you said, we won't see it. We'll see things change and progress, but what is being taught at home to this next generation is what's going to make a difference. And with the foundations of racism in this country, it goes it runs deep. It runs deep. So it's a, a generational thing that's just passed along. And like I said before, whether it's overt or not, there's still a level of not thinking that we're on the same level.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of it, some of it is unconscious bias. You just you
Hmm.
don't think about it, but it just is. So it
It's
just is.
definitely going to take time for things to definitely be different, like you said. Um, Going back to the mental health and wellness, I think we need to implement things into our lives daily that keep us focused. Like, we're so easily bombarded by the negative of the world, right? So with that, we need to make a conscious decision to implement something positive.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I've been doing in the morning, before I get out of my bed, is I turn my alarm off, I stretch, I thank God for life, I pray, and I just take the time out to just refocus my thoughts, because as soon as I wake up, they're immediately there knocking on the door like, hello, these are all the things you need to be worried about today. I have to refocus myself to not focus on the worry, the stress, the responsibilities, all the things that my day is going to entail, but more so just taking that time out for myself and just be at peace. Just peace in a way where it's like there's no wrong in the world. And then when I feel like I'm at a good state, then I can get up and get my day started. Most days, this lasts for a good amount of time, but then I got to bring myself back to that space where it's like, okay, remember this morning what you said, what you did. And I kind of have to recalibrate to get through the rest of the day. But that's helpful, just taking that time out to
Mhm.
just, recenter yourself.
Yeah, that's important, and you really need to listen to yourself. Listen to your body when you have that physiological response to the things that you hear, the things that you read, the things that you see. Listen to it, respond to it, pause, and as you said, recalibrate, recenter yourself. Um, and you do what you can. You do what you can as far as all of this goes, all of the the current events. But the main work is on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can't change anyone but yourself. So you need
Mm-hmm.
to think about your thoughts and your perspectives on race relations and how you interact with people. The work needs to be done within first, and then you can
Carried
educate,
out.
and then
Yeah,
you can share that with other people.
I agree. I agree. Makes sense. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do to make sure that we are in a healthy mental state daily as we continue to move forward in the time in which we're in?
Well, all the things that I just said, just checking in with yourself. Also, as we mentioned earlier, journaling is very, very useful. You can get the things that are inside out.
Mm-hmm.
You can let them go. There's also, if there's something that you're just holding on to, you can write it on a piece of paper, crumble it up, light it on fire, watch it go away. Those visual things help. I've done that
They,
several times before.
they
Uh,
definitely do.
you have to be in tune with yourself, and if you can't handle it all yourself, get some help. Talk to other people. A lot of organizations are offering care through the EAPs. um,
Mm-hmm.
the universities are offering assistance through the chaplains. I mean, it's there are resources out there to help you to maintain some balance while dealing with all of the imbalance that's happening in the world.
Yeah, so it's important to definitely try to take advantage of those resources, because they're there for a reason and they're there to help. So not being afraid or you know, I don't know, I don't want to say insecure, but just feeling like, oh, well, you don't need that, or we don't do that kind of thing, because that kind of thing could be the very thing that gets you out of the space that you've been in for so long. So trying new things and just taking those moments throughout the day and just, maybe taking 60 seconds or a minute and a half to just kind of deep breathe, just take time to just stop and just think about what's really happening to yourself, brings you back to a place of peace.
Deep breathing, that's a good one. To take it in and really release it. Do that so you can hear the exhale. Just, releasing. It's really helpful.
But it also allows you to take control over your body, how you feel, which like the heart, the way your heart beats, just taking that time out to breathe helps stuff like that. So definitely recommend it.
We'll do what we can. We'll take care of each other. Use the resources that are available to us. You check in, make sure you're taking care of yourself, and we'll work through this. I mean, we work through everything else,
Yeah.
It's an existence that is, what we're familiar with now, and, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. You can't, necessarily things will change and all of this, but we will be able to sustain within it.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Well, we thank you all for listening and supporting us, and we will talk to you next time.
You've been listening to From Her Point of View. From Her Point of View is a podcast covering a wide range of topics. The content is specifically curated for women, by women. To give feedback or for questions, please reach out to us at 443-507-8032. Also email fromherpointofview@gmail.com. Please visit the podcast website fromherpointofview.podbean.com. Also the Facebook page From Her Point of View. Tune in weekly to hear it from her point of view.